James, not freebie back. Part of what I love about having this as an outlet is I don't have any concerns about needing to do it all in one day. Yesterday got kind of busy, but I'm going to pick up right where I left off. Hopefully, looks, if not very similar to the last one. Buffalo and Kent State had a battle. 38-21. Ended with the Kent State driving with seconds left on the clock to try and tie the game. It was a very good game. Honestly, Buffalo got started off pretty slow and was really getting the business taken to them by their MAC opponent. Taquan Robertson, 28-40, 320 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. L.J. Henderson, 15 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Taquan Robertson, 10 carries, 54 yards. Nick McMillan, 6 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Chance Morrow, 7 receptions, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Henderson, 8 receptions, 38 yards, and Victor Snow, 3 receptions, 34 yards, and a touchdown. On the other side, Drew DeShields, 22 for 32, 279 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kevin Garcia, 18 for 61. DeShields, 14 for 37 and a touchdown. And Maurice Stevens, 1 for 31 and a touchdown. Receiving wise, Cade Wolford, 3 for 95 and a touchdown. Tariq Mulder, 3 for 55 and a touchdown. Wayne Harris, 4 for 39 yards. And Ardell Banks, 2 for 26 yards. The name of this game really was Kent did get out to an early lead. Buffalo tied it up, extended the lead, and then field goal late into the second half, to the second quarter, put Kent State up 14-10. And Buffalo quickly in the third quarter really scored 2 touchdowns, which made the gap kind of hard to come back from, especially as you got later in the game, and then you had to really be, putting faith in your defense. And I'm going to have to put it out there. The Kent State defense ain't it, boss. But I needed a game that was a lot closer and a lot more fun to watch, which was comparatively to the other game that I did watch. As an Oklahoma diehard loyalist, well, I did have to watch the throttling of Temple for the second time this year. It just didn't. These are the type of blowouts that are boring, very boring. Apologies. The 42-3 throttling. These are the type of blowouts that are very boring. I believe that there's 2 different kinds of blowouts. There's the fun one, the one where your team just keeps going and going and going and going, and it doesn't feel bad. This is one of those ones that felt bad. I really didn't feel like sticking around. Whenever you're early as a first and you've gone for 2 successfully and a field goal, and by the time you're done with the first half, it is 28-3, not in the easy, fun fashion. You didn't have to do it to them like that. 14 more points later, and then, yeah, it pretty easy. John Mateer, 20-34, 182 touchdowns. I believe that's a touchdown. Yes, and an interception. Torrey Baylock, 14 for 100, 2 touchdowns. Really the star of the show if it weren't for a quarterback getting a lot of yards. John Mateer, 763 and a touchdown. And of course you had a whole bunch of people having plenty of carries. Robinson, 25 carries for 26 yards. Hawkins, 6 carries for 25 yards and a receiving touchdown. Now, as we speak about receiving, Isaiah Tago the third, 7 for 97. Jared Kanak, 4 for 86 yards. Deion Burks, 3 for 36 yards. And Kearney, 2 for 31. On the opposite side, Temple, Evan Simon, 13 for 27, 75 yards. Jay Ducker, 7 for 24 yards on the ground. And through the air, Kaija Holloway, 2 for 21. Ryder Cush, 2 for 19. Jojo Bermudez, 3 for 15. And Colin Chase, also 3 for 15. Temple really looked like the high school team here, as they like to say. High school team against the actual college team that is the Sooners. Really, it was a game that I quickly knew that I had to actually flex into that Buffalo game. Not immediately in my list of games that I was going to cover, but really, this game caused my first game to go and be a better choice than I imagined. As I ended up getting to the next slate of games, I had a crisis. One I didn't expect to have, given that the next set of games were Purdue and USC and USF, Miami, FAU, and FIU. All three of those games all got delayed. Lightning, weather. Not really pleasant. Really kind of made me confused about how the middle of my slate would go. Shake out. Thank God that one game continued. And it was another flex into the backyard brawl. The last one until, I believe, 2029. West Virginia and Pitt into overtime. And really it comes down to poor decision making and bad defense at the end of it. West Virginia 31, Pittsburgh 24. Nico Marshall for West Virginia, 19-25, 192 yards and touchdown. They also were busy running 3 quarterbacks, but technically Marshall had 2 attempts, so they had 4 quarterback changes to make it happen. Ty Edwards, 25 carries, 141 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Rodney Gallagher III, 7 receptions, 61 yards. Grayson Barnes, 5 receptions, 58 yards and a touchdown. And on the other side, Eli Holstein, 22 for 37, 303 yards, a touchdown, an interception. Jules Goff, 8 carries, 37 yards. Desmond Reed, 6 carries for 30 yards. In the receiving, Raphael Williams, 6 receptions, 119 yards, and a touchdown. Bryce Hayes, 2 receptions, 74 yards. Malachi Thomas, 26 yards, and Deuce Spann, 23 yards. The real kicker here is that it really felt like there was a lack of aggression offensively from Pittsburgh at the end of that game. Lack of gumption, and really, I don't think that Holstein really gave him a good enough opportunity with his decision-making while the game was being played. He seemed like he was really trying not to throw it as deep and really trying to save the game, per se. At some point, when the game is as close as that game got, that even in overtime, you kind of got to put it out there, even if it might risk an interception. Holstein is a talented enough quarterback to make a good enough amount of those throws in those moments to at least attempt something a little bit more aggressive. But like with most things, and like with most rivalries, overtime, yeah, that's exactly what they needed. So we move on to the, you know what? I'll come back to this. Well, you know what? This is the one I could start. Miami and South Florida, the hype going into this was unreal. With USF beating 2 ranked opponents, Boise in week 1, Florida week 2. There was a chance that if everything went right, the defense held up, Byron Brown stayed healthy, really was able to provide these guys with an opportunity to keep it close, really limit the mistakes, and there's a rain delay. So, yeah, I'm going to have to come back to this game, and we'll be back when the lightning quits striking, proverbially. All right. And due to that, can't even start talking about my Florida International, Florida Atlanta game because they decided to just go ahead and delay that one whenever Miami got delayed. Oh, yes, actually my favorite storyline game of the week because it's the second and probably the most, I would say, high-key drama of the week. When I picked Old Dominion and Virginia Tech, or Old Dominion going to Virginia Tech, the last thing I expected, really, at the end of the day, was a 19-point victory by Old Dominion. Or Old Dominion to be throttling opponents 28-0 at half. Or ACC opponent. I feel like 2025 at times is kind of a cursed football world we live in. Because the more you think about it, some of these scores don't make sense. Although, factually, if you looked at what we had coming into the year, Brent Pry, who immediately got canned after the game, funny stuff, it was to be predicted. He really wasn't doing a whole lot with Virginia Tech, and it really showed on the field. There's no physicality, there's no intensity, nothing like that. Old Dominion, the name of the game, Colton Joseph, 16 for 22, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. And a rushing touchdown. I almost forgot about that. He was having a day of himself. Traquan Jones on the ground, 13 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. There was a couple guys who also got Mordecai Jones, 26 yards and a touchdown, and Devin Roche, 25 yards and a touchdown. Aside from that, in the receiving game, Jarory Thomas, 83 yards. Abdul Rahim, there was another part of that name. And these are last name. Well, that was his last name. 3 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Ty Johnson, 1 reception, 36 yards. And Trey Brown III, 3 receptions, 35 yards, and a touchdown. On the depressed side, actually the home side too. Interesting. Well, Virginia Tech showed up. Not to play football, but to whine and cry and get their head coach fired. Which worked. Kyron Jones, 26 for 39, 266 yards, and 3 touchdowns and an interception. It really didn't play that terribly. 18 carries, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Terrion Stewart, 8 carries, 55 yards. Donovan Green, 5 receptions, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. Aiden Green, 1 reception, 67 yards. And Isaiah Spencer, 3 receptions, 32 yards. Like I said, the name of this game was getting throttled early by Old Dominion. What the fuck? Old Dominion, I believe, is a Sunbelt Conference team. And defeating an ACC opponent, while I say certain ACC teams are terrible, wow. How much more wow could I? I actually had a hard time comprehending what I was seeing. At this point, we can go back and actually start our USC Purdue game. But unfortunately, I've had to put it all the way up at the front because I ran out of space in the back. So there it is. USC and Purdue. USC, after the rain, USC dominated. Well, I wouldn't say dominated, but pretty well took care of business. 33-17 Purdue. Jaden Mayava, 17 for 28, 282 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Wayman Jordan, 77 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. And Eli Sanders, 10 carries, 75 yards. Through the air, Jacoby Lane, 3 receptions, 115 yards. Lane McCree, 3 receptions, 67 yards. And Makai Lemon, 5 receptions, 63 yards. Pause. Purdue on the other side. Michael Brown, 24 39, 305 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions, including, but not limited to, 5 all sacks as well. Devin McCoby, 45 yards on the ground. Brown, 12 yards on the ground, but there was a touchdown through the air. Michael Jackson III, 7 receptions, 70 yards. E.J. Horton Jr., 5 receptions, 70 yards. Nitro Tuggle, 4 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. And Armand Branch, 2 receptions, 35 yards. Now that I got those out the way, we can now casually flip back to over here. And now we could pick up on our Miami, South Florida game. All right, cool. Now, for USF, Byron Brown, 20 for 36, 270 yards, 74 yards, a touchdown and interception. Alvin Isaac, 20 yards on the ground. Sam Franklin, 10 yards on the ground. And Cartavius Norton also. And through the air, Chaz Nimrod, 4 receptions, 128 yards. Wyatt Sullivan, 5 receptions, 55 yards. Keyshawn Singleton, 2 receptions, 29 yards. And Christian Neptune, 7 receptions, 32 yards, and a touchdown. On the opposite side, my NCAA player of the week. Well, I mean, probably not, because I feel like the variance for this and the fact that there probably was a better, somebody who wasn't yeeting into coverage or creating pressure onto himself. Carson Beck, 23 for 28, 340 yards, a rushing touchdown, 3 passing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Mark Fletcher Jr., 16 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, actually, that is better. That's better statistics right there, and I actually kind of like that. Gerald Pringle Jr., 12 yards and a touchdown. Keelan Marion, and through the air, 6 receptions, 81 yards. Malachi Tony, 6 receptions, 66 yards. Tony Johnson, 2 receptions, 64 yards. And Joshua Moore, 3 receptions, 61 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also, Shamar Brown got the illustrious 1-1-1. 1 target, 1 reception, 1 yard. Or one target, 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. I think that's how it goes. So now that we got that out of the way, we could actually get to our International Florida Atlantic game, as that is also a rivalry that not very many people pay attention to. Let me be real. Then again, lower division football is not for everybody, and I am a junkie. Florida Atlantic 28, Florida International 38, and a pretty close battle, but ultimately, even after rain delay, it looked like Florida International was pretty comfortable pretty much the entire way. Florida Atlantic, Caden Veltkamp, 33 for 50, 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. In the on the ground, 14 carries, 105 yards. Through the air, Jay-Sean Platt, 5 receptions, 90 yards. Easton Messer, 6 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Dominic Henry, 3 receptions, 159 yards. Xavier Terrell, 7 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Assad Wasim, 6 receptions, 38 yards. And on the opposite side, Keone Jenkins, 18 for 24, 184 yards, a touchdown, and a rushing touchdown. Keyshawn Owens, 19 carries, 173 yards, a 2 touchdown. And then Anthony Carey had a rushing touchdown as well. And McGuire Anderson, 5 receptions, 81 yards. And Alex Perry, 2 receptions, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, that rivalry was fun to watch and fun to pay attention to. But it was only a portion of what we had. I'm going to have to make a third video to cover these last 3, so I'll be back momentarily for you.